Hello and welcome back again to the NorthForm podcast. We are now in June in our reading of Robert Greene's The Daily Laws, 366 Meditations. June, our theme is the divine gift, manipulation, and the art of indirection. In the Greek and Indian myths, for example, the Indian Mahabharata cycle, the Middle Eastern epic of Gilgamesh, or it is the privilege in these stories of the gods to use deceptive arts. A great man, Odysseus, for instance, was judged by his ability to rival the craftiness of the gods, stealing some of their divine power by matching them in wits and deception. Deception is a developed art of civilization and the most potent weapon in the game of power. Deception and masquerade should not be seen as ugly or immoral. All human interaction requires deception on many levels, and in some ways, what separates humans from animals is our ability to lie and deceive. Outwardly, you must seem to respect the niceties, but inwardly, unless you're a fool, you learn quickly to be prudent and to not do as Napoleon advised. Place your iron hand inside a velvet glove. If you can master the arts of deception and indirection, learning to seduce, charm, deceive, and subtly outmaneuver your opponents, you will attain the heights of power. The month of June will teach you how to make people bend to your will, and without their realizing what you've done. And if they do not realize what you've done, they will neither resent nor resist you. Story time. A few years ago, to help my mind get over the grind of writing the 33 Strategies of War, I bought a pool table. After a hard day's work, I would settle into the game of pool and make myself completely focus on the green felt, the cue sticks, and the stripes and the solids. It ended up being the perfect choice of a diversion. Pool, it became clear to me, is all about angles. First, there are simple angles. You must hit the cue ball to either side when you're not straight on. This is often not as easy as it seems. Then there are the angles you take when you bank the targeted ball off the sides, an entirely new game in and of itself. This goes further with the double bank shot. There are the angles of the combination shots and even more slippery combinations when you use a solid to slide off a stripe and knock in a solid. Then there's the whole language of angles that comes into play when you're thinking ahead and trying to keep the cue ball in solid position, working with the open faces of the table. Finally, there are the abstract angles in psychological space and time, playing with your opponent's mind, letting him get ahead, but putting himself in a corner in relation to the final balls on the table, snookering him into impossible positions, like the trick bag, or seeing the entire table and how you run it in short order. In other words, there are layers of angles, all more subtle and artistic as you go up the ladder and improve your game. I'm no longer a rank beginner, but I'm certainly no hustler, not yet. To play well, to raise your game, your focus must be total. As in pool, so in life. Suckers and beginners are locked into the single ball at a time mentality and get all excited when they knock one in on a clever shot, but leave themselves nowhere to go. They never learn the angles above the angles above the angles. Then there are people who raise their game a little, who give the appearance of knowing how to hustle, who can actually knock in a few shots in a row. In Hollywood, I worked for some people like that. They would let others do the work and take all the credit. One director I knew would constantly play the game of hiring someone else to direct the pet script he had written, someone young and eager and inexperienced. This person would inevitably fail rather early on in the process, and the director would have to come in and rescue the situation, which was his goal all along. Better to set it up that way than for him to be seen as being overly ambitious and greedy. Always insisting he directs all the projects on his plate, similar to how Pat Riley engineered his whole return to coaching. But these types do not really see the whole table or have a good in-game mapped out. They have some angles, but not of a high order. They never really get that far. They stir up much resentment and resistance. They are low to mid-level hustlers. An acquaintance of mine who runs his own media business came to me a few years ago with a problem. A high-level employee had leaked something embarrassing about him to other employees. His angle in leaking this was to get the boss's attention and warn him about what else he might do. He was worried the boss was planning to fire him, and so this was his warning shot across the bow. My advice to him was to be aware first of what the leaker was up to, and then to not indicate any kind of negative reaction on his part. He was to continue seeming friendly as if nothing had happened. This was a front, a distraction. The employee would have to focus on this and figure out what it meant. Was the boss being coy? Did he not care? Was he trying to win him back over? Was he intimidated? This would buy the boss time. As we then investigated the situation, we saw more of what was going on, and a solution came to us. First, he fired 2 other employees who were allies of the leaker and obvious troublemakers. A third he got transferred to an office in a distant location. All of this was ostensibly done as a reaction to their lack of performance and had no apparent link to the leaker in question. The purpose was twofold: to isolate the target and to make it harder for him to conspire and stir things up, and to send an indirect warning to him that the boss was not someone he could easily mess with. His moves were not simple to figure out. They got the leaker's attention and froze him in place. As we considered the leaker's possible reactions to these moves and how he might ratchet it all up as he felt threatened, we worked on a higher angle to this reaction, so that we had as many bases as possible covered. We had mapped out a way to even checkmate him if he maneuvered to go public with his information. Iceberg Slim is one of my favorite authors. To Iceberg, the world is divided between hustler and sucker. You're either one or the other. The sucker has no angles in life, no sense of the art of indirection, and can only make one stupid play at a time. The hustler always aims for the anglers, learns how to play them, and becomes an artist in the game. June 1st, from the 48 Laws of Power, the preface. Wear the appropriate mask. You cannot succeed at deception unless you take a somewhat distanced approach to yourself, unless you can be many different people wearing the mask that the moment requires. With such a flexible approach to all appearances, including your own, you lose a lot of the inward heaviness that holds people down. Make your face as malleable as the actors. Work to conceal your intentions from others. Practice luring people into traps. The daily law is, playing with appearances and mastering arts of deception are among the aesthetic pleasures of life. They are also key components in the acquisition of power. And to close us out, final law for today, use absence to increase respect. From the 48 Laws of Power, Law 16, use absence to increase respect and honor. Quote, I am often seen at the theater. People will cease to notice me. If I am often seen at the theater, people will cease to notice me. Napoleon. Today, in a world inundated with presence through the flood of images, the game of withdraw is a powerful one. We rarely know when to withdraw anymore, and nothing seems private, so we are awed by anyone who is able to disappear by choice. In the science of economics, the law of scarcity gives us this truth. Too much circulation makes the price go down. But by withdrawing something from the market, you create instant value. In 17th century Holland, the upper classes wanted to make the tulip more than just a beautiful flower. They wanted it to be a kind of status symbol, making the flower scarce, indeed almost impossible to obtain. They sparked what was later called tulipomania. A single flower was now worth more than its weight in gold. Extend the law of scarcity to your own skills. Make what you are offering to the world rare and hard to find, and you instantly increase its value. And the daily law is, the more you are seen and heard from, the more common you appear. If you are already established in a group, temporarily withdraw from it, and it will make you more talked about, even more admired. You must learn when to leave. Create value through scarcity. And with that, NorthForm podcast will sign out for now. More to come very soon. Have a magical, marvelous Monday.